All right, everybody, buckle up, strap in, and take your medication because today is going to be a rough ride, let me tell you. I still haven't even decided on the order that I want to do these things in this video, so we're just going to wing it right now, and whatever happens, happens. But I think first thing we should react to is Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. Now, I have an ex-girlfriend from South Carolina, and she used to say the same dumbass shit that Lindsey Graham would say. And like that was like I was dating her before I ever really paid attention to politics or anything, so I had no idea who Lindsey Graham was. But after I broke up with her was when I started paying more attention to politics. But yeah, every time I see Lindsey Graham, it just reminds me of her because he says the same dumb shit that she says. But whatever, that's just my personal rant. But Lindsey Graham messed up and said the quiet part out loud. How the other day I was harping on Maxine Waters for being the thorn in the Democrat side on saying the quiet part out loud. Well, guess what? Lindsey Graham is that person for the Republicans. Granted, he's not as bad as Maxine Waters, but is saying things that the deep state or the people who agree with him probably would prefer him not to say live on TV. However, he's an idiot. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the stupidity of Lindsey Graham.
They're sitting on 10 to 12 trillion dollars of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That 10 to 12 trillion dollars of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China. This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war. But they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin 10 or 12 trillion dollars of critical minerals that he will share with China is ridiculous.
Oh, well, what do you know? It was always, all along, all about the money. It was actually never about freedom for Ukraine or any of that BS. It was actually, well, they got 10 to 12 trillion dollars of resources in there, so that's why NATO and the U.S. is just giving them billions and billions of dollars, because they're like, oh yeah, we'll totally get it back once we get their mineral resources. The part that really grinds my gears, that really pisses me the fuck off, Mr. Lindsey Graham, the part where I tell you can go shove a BBC so far up your ass it comes straight out your mouth and then just keep going around in circles until you fucking die. This piece of fucking shit, this piece of human garbage, this piece of debris, literal, okay, maybe not less than human, but this literal bottom of the barrel human wants me and all of y'all who are my age to go fight and die in a war halfway around the goddamn world just so that he can make a little bit more money at the end of the day. That's right. Instead of blood for oil, like everyone was screaming about with Bush in Iraq, now it's blood for money, guys, because guess what? They got cobalt and all these other mineral resources that, if you go and fight and die in that war, you're not going to be around to make money off that. You're not even going to be around to use the resources mined out of Ukraine. But he wants you to go pick up your guns and to go fight and die in a country halfway around the world that has nothing to do with America, all so that he can make a little bit more money at the end of the day. Now, if that ain't low, if that ain't a sin, one of the 10 deadly sins, greed, then I don't know what is. Because you can very clearly see here that Mr. Lindsey Graham prioritizes the value of the resources in that country over the cost of the human lives required to acquire said resources. Let's just be glad I was not in the room when he said that, because if he said that with me in the room, there would have been no fucking words. I would have just got up, walked across the room, grabbed him by the throat, slapped him across the face a few times, and said, "You go die in that fucking war, old man." I don't give a flying fuck about the resources in Ukraine. I don't give a flying fuck about Ukraine, all right? That is not my goddamn problem, okay? I'm a fucking American, all right? And if you expect me to fight and die for something, it better be to defend this country from enemies. If I'm not fighting to defend this country from enemies, I'm not going to fight for you. Period. End of story, all right? No more discussion needed, all right? Take your old crooked corrupt ass back to South Carolina and shut the fuck up and sit down, Mr. Graham, because it's about time that you let somebody else start making the decisions here, because you've clearly lost the fucking thread, my man. You value money more than human lives. That is pathetic. All ranting and raging and anger aside, it's not really a coincidence that Mr. Graham is out here saying this on the news at the same time that this article also came out just a couple days ago. So let's get into this article here, because this is all related.
House passes bill to automatically register young men for the draft. The Selective Service should be abolished, not made more efficient and equitable. C.J. Ciaramella. The House passed a large defense bill Friday evening that included a provision that would automatically enroll young men between the ages of 18 and 26 for the Selective Service. The House's version of the National Defense Authorization Act (NDAA), which would authorize $895 billion in military spending, passed by a vote of 217-199. It's unlikely to be picked up by the Democrat-controlled Senate because of numerous amendments regarding abortion, diversity efforts, and transgender medical treatments. The Selective Service provision, though, is part of an enduring bipartisan effort to keep the framework for military conscription in place even though the draft ended in 1975. Automatic registration would replace the coming-of-age tradition that all 18-year-old male U.S. citizens experience when they get a card in the mail from Uncle Sam, informing them that they're required under threat of criminal penalties to register for the Selective Service. Supporters of the legislation framed it as a more efficient and cost-effective method. By using available federal databases, the Selective Service Agency will be able to register all of the individuals required and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable. Representative Chrissy Houlihan, D. Pennsylvania, said on the House floor. This will also allow us to rededicate resources. Basically, that means money towards reading readiness and towards mobilization rather than towards education and advertising campaigns driven to register people. The other unspoken effect would be removing young men's choice to engage in civil disobedience. The draft is a hobby horse for Houlihan, an Air Force veteran. She also spearheaded a House bill in 2021 to require women to register with the Selective Service, effectively doubling the draft pool. As reasons, Matt Welch wrote in 2021, the Selective Service is not a proud part of America's civic fabric, but an on-again off-again tool of the Pentagon. The Selective Service system was first founded in 1917 to feed bodies into America's World War I efforts. It was disbanded in 1920, fired back up in 1940, reformatted in 1948, and then terminated in 1975 as part of Washington's decisive shift to an all-volunteer military. Then a panicky President Jimmy Carter in 1980, alarmed by the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan, reinstituted draft registration as a just-in-case rite of passage for boys to complete within 30 days of their 18th birthday, under theoretical penalty of 5 years imprisonment and, eventually, up to $250,000 in fines. While there have only been 14 convictions for Selective Service refuseniks, and none since 1986, those 100,000 or so young men per year who disobey Washington's marching orders are typically barred from working government jobs, receiving student loans, and, in around 40 states, obtaining a driver's license. There is a growing centrist consensus among liberals and hawkish conservatives on expanding the Selective Service. The American Civil Liberties Union, for example, is fighting for the right of women to be conscripted and argues that the Selective Service is an example of overt sex discrimination. But equality in the service of a broader deprivation of rights is no virtue, and conscription remains an immoral institution at its core. Conscription of any kind contravenes any constitution that professes to guarantee individual liberties, Fred Echeverry wrote in Reason in 1972, when the draft remained an active menace to young men. Otherwise, what is to prevent conscription from being the 12 months Senator Taft feared, or the 2 years we now have, the 4 years of the National Service Act bill, or forever? If conscription is limited to an emergency, then who decides what is an emergency? Is 10% unemployment a sufficient enough emergency to warrant conscription? Mandatory national service of some sort or another is a perennial bad idea trotted out by nationalists and technocrats concerned about unity. But America's all-volunteer military is not a self-inflicted weakness. It's a sign of strength of free citizenry's confidence that they will know when to fight. The Selective Service is a vestige of fear. It should be abolished, not made more equitable and efficient.
All right, yeah, guys, I'm gonna be honest. I could not even get through the entire article because I'm just seeing red right now. Like, I'm so fucking mad. at these people. These are supposed to be the goddamn leaders of my fucking country, and this is what they're doing with it. They should be ashamed. The founding fathers are rolling in their goddamn graves right now, and I hope you people are fucking proud of destroying this great country. Yeah. See, this is how you know the United States government is ramping up for war, because not only do you have Lindsey Graham out here saying the quiet part out loud, they're also, automatically registering young men for selective service. In case you don't know what that is, or you're not from America, selective service just means you're eligible for the draft. And the irony about selective service is, it was called volunteer because you were supposed to volunteer, like when it was originally established, you were supposed to volunteer for selective service, i.e. if a war started and you had volunteered for selective service, then if your number got picked, then you joined the military whether you wanted to or not, because that, you signed up for selective service. Well, guess what? After a while, in Vietnam, they decided, that's not good enough. So now that's when they turned it into a draft of like, well, instead of having you volunteer for selective service, instead, if you're a young man, 18 to 26, and you want to get a driver's license, you want to get any kind of government ID, you want to do pretty much anything that requires any sort of like official government documentation, you are legally required to quote unquote volunteer for the selective service, which is just ironic when you think about it, because it's called volunteer for selective service, even though if you want to drive a car before the age of 26, then you don't have a fucking choice about whether you quote unquote volunteer to be drafted. Basically, the way selective service currently works is any young man 18 to 26 that has a driver's license or has gotten any other type of government identification has basically, quote unquote, volunteered for selective service. But now they're trying to expand it to all males ages 18 to 26 are now automatically registered for selective service. See, this is how you know they're getting ready for war, guys, and they know that we're not going to want to fight the war, which is why they're starting the draft like this before we even get into the war. I just got to say one thing real quick, though. Thank you, God, I am a dual citizen, because if they start the fucking draft over here to go, fight in fucking Ukraine and fight the Russians, fuck it, man. I'll go move to Australia and say, sorry, guys, fuck y'all. I ain't fighting in Ukraine for this bullshit. Sorry to the rest of you guys that are stuck over here, but I'm not counting on y'all to all stand up in a group with me and say, no, government, take me to jail. I will not fight in this war. Look, man, I've been to jail. All right. And let me tell you, it was fucking torture. It was torture the whole time I was in there. I wanted nothing but to get out. When I was in there, I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I would rather serve in the military than be in fucking jail, because there is nothing worse, in my opinion, than being stuck in fucking jail. I'd rather be in the goddamn military. But if my choice is, well, you can either join the military and go fight and die in Ukraine so that Lindsey Graham can get some cobalt and make some money off of that, or you can go to jail. Well, guess what? 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna pick fucking jail, man, because if it ain't a cause that I'm willing to die for, then don't expect me to fight for it. Enriching the old fucks like Lindsey fucking Graham is not something I'm willing to die for. If he thinks it's so fucking important, why doesn't he put his son out there? Why doesn't he put his daughters out there, huh? No, he doesn't do that. He doesn't fucking do that. He keeps his kids safe at home. No, he wants your kids to go out there and fight and die so that he can make some more fucking money, that greedy fucking pig. But the icing on the cherry on the cake, because guess what, guys? This is not the end. It gets worse. It gets fucking worse. Now, granted, this video clip I'm about to show y'all is about 10 years old. However, if the military had these types of issues in it 10 years ago, before the recruiting crisis happened, well, guess what, guys? It's only going to be worse now. Why don't we take a quick little look at, in case you get drafted, take a good hard look at who your battle buddy might very well be. Who the guy in the fucking foxhole who's supposed to have your goddamn six is going to be like. Let's take a look at the dumb fucks that Mr. Lindsey Graham expects us to fight and die with.
Flag up, changing mags.
Well, then I guess you can't very well cover him down there, can you?
Neutral, sir.
It only works if a round is in the chamber.
Tell me what, throw my grenade, battle buddy. Got your cover, battle buddy. Oh, no! Look, what's in front of you? How many, Drill Sergeant?
You're over there, right?
Yes, Drill
Where'd your
Sergeant.
grenade go?
Over to the left, Drill Sergeant. Drill Sergeant, I dropped my grenade somewhere over there.
Twice. See what I'm talking about?
From the time that dumbass announced that he was changing mags, it was 19 seconds before he got a fucking round off. Are you fucking kidding me? That's enough time for the enemy to charge your position and stick a fucking bayonet in your chest. And they want to fucking draft us. And these are the fucking dipshits that are supposed to be my goddamn battle buddy. These are supposed to be the fucking retards in the goddamn foxhole who have my 6. Excuse you, Mr. Lindsey fucking Graham. Excuse you. You can get fucked, you piece of fucking shit. Because this was 10 years ago, guys. This was 10 fucking years ago. It is way worse now. You know? And not only that, that dumb fuck. Oh, Drill Sergeant, I lost my grenade somewhere over there. Duh, duh, duh. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? If I can't trust you to keep track of the goddamn grenade, then I can't trust you to keep track of the goddamn pin. You could have killed us all, you stupid fuck. You know the proper way to deal with that situation, which is why we need to bring back corporal punishment in the military? That drill sergeant should have grabbed that stupid fuck by the goddamn throat, thrown him into the fucking ground, and started screaming in his face about how he could have killed his whole goddamn platoon from losing a fucking grenade, man. It's not a fucking joke. Sorry, guys. I'm now too pissed off to even think rationally about anything. Like, I'm just seeing red. Like, fuck y'all. Fuck this. I'm fucking done. This is some bullshit. November cannot get here any fucking sooner. And Lindsey fucking Graham can go eat a bowl of goddamn dicks. Make sure that you like this video, comment on it, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to follow me on fucking Rumble as well.